Luca is the latest film from Pixar, and this movie is now streaming on Disney Plus. You can check it out now wherever you are in the world. I think this movie is about a boy named Luca who lives under the sea, and he's basically like a fish monster of sorts. But whenever he comes out of water, he transforms into a human being. He meets a kid named Alberto, who is also a sea monster and can become a kid in real life. And eventually, they go on an adventure around Porto Rosso in Italy, and they trying to get a Vespa of sorts. That's essentially the brief plot of the movie, and it's also one I did not know. I've talked about this often, but sometimes I go into movies having no idea what they're about because I don't see any trailers or anything like that, so I want to go in blind. Luca might be the first movie where I went in without, I think, even having seen a poster. Because I genuinely did not know what this movie was about. I didn't even read a synopsis, and so everything was very, very new to me as I was watching it. And after seeing some of the reviews that have come out over the last few days, I feel like I'm like the last critic on the block to watch this because almost everyone I know has seen this movie. So I feel like I'm like just showing up like, oh guys, hey, I'm late to the party here. But anyway, I'm gonna finally talk about this movie, which I thought was good. I like this movie. I think it's wonderfully animated. Pixar has never really missed a step when it comes to gorgeous visuals and making things look vibrant and more colorful than ever. And this movie is no stranger to that. It is stunning. Some of the water mechanics. At this point in time, I've just accepted that every time you see water in a Pixar movie, it's real. I've just accepted that because ever since The Good Dinosaur, I think, I felt like that's really water because there was moments in that where there was rain and I thought that looked photorealistic and it felt like they'd shot that in real environments. And there's sometimes moments in this movie where it feels like that. And I think that's absolutely incredible. The technical mastery on display is quite incredible. It's also really great in terms of voice acting. Everybody's really good in it. Jacob Tremblay, who plays Luca, is great, as well as Jack Dylan Grazer, who plays Alberto. Their friendship, which was explored in this, is really good, and it has some really great messages in it for young audience members about acceptance, about friendship, the power of friendship, which I think are really great. I think, once again, the film hones in on those messages and giving you a few emotional reactions here and there, as a Pixar movie usually does pretty well. And it's also got a really great score, and it's also really fast. It's about 95, 96 minutes long, and it goes by in a flash. It's a very well-paced movie. All that being said, I don't think Luca is necessarily one of my favorite Pixar movies by a long shot. It is definitely on the mid to lower tier of Pixar movies for me. It's not bad. Like I said, I did think it was a very good movie overall. I just think that it's a little shallow when it comes to its storytelling and its characterization. I think in terms of Pixar movies I've seen before, this one plays it safe. This one feels like it's sort of, well, no pun intended, testing the waters on where this story could go and not quite going there. And I found that to be a bit disappointing. And I thought the first half of the movie was really great because, in a sense, you have a literal fish out of water story because that's exactly what's going on. He's trying to discover the world, Luca is, and eventually all the stuff that he's seeing and the things he's discovering, they're these new things for him. And you're very enamored by that because, you know, it's like, okay, cool, that's interesting. And you get some really fun scenes out of that and one really fun montage and some funny moments with that. And that's all really, really good. But eventually, as the film goes on, there doesn't seem to be much more to it. It feels like we're just going scene after scene where we're seeing things happen in this town. There seems to be some kind of a competition coming up for something, which Luca is very interested in. And that takes up the rest of the movie. And that doesn't happen until the very end of it. So, you know, a lot of the time, you're just kind of going through scene after scene. And there's no real threat level, I guess. There's no real villain in this movie, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think every movie needs an antagonist or some kind of force to be reckoned with in order to make it interesting. I don't think that's there at all. But at the same time, the film tries to set up things like that. And so when it doesn't go the distance in terms of having those things and sort of just making it in terms of like a setup to something that doesn't really, you know, manifest in, you know, to its fruition, that felt like the movie was taking a step back and sort of holding itself back. That's something that I also found a little messy, to be very honest with you. And one other thing I thought was not very great was also in terms of some of the world building, because we don't really get to spend much time in the underwater world where Luca is originally from, and we don't really quite understand why certain things work the way they do. We also don't really know why he can turn human on land. Like, what exactly is the system there? Why can't he just, remain a sea monster the whole time, even though there is a mechanic that's there of sorts, but again, it just doesn't, some parts of that don't really feel explained or add up or anyway. I feel like this is the kind of movie where you're there for one purpose only, and it tries to fulfill that purpose as best as possible. And Luca is more than up to the task in terms of that. It's a fun movie for the kids because at the end of the day, that's what it's really about. This is for a younger audience. And as long as it accomplishes that purpose, which it is for the most part, I think you're gonna have a really great time with it. I think kids are really gonna like this movie. Like I said, there are some really great messages for them that are to be found in this. And even though I've mentioned a lot of negatives, I still did have a very good time seeing it overall. All I'm saying is I don't think it's one of the best Pixar movies. I think it's definitely on the mid-range of Pixar films. It's nowhere near one of the weakest by any means. I think there are a few that are definitely weaker than this, but overall, I had a very good time watching it, and I do recommend seeing it. And I think it's so good, like in terms of visuals. I think this could have been a really great theater experience. They put it onto Disney Plus, and a lot of people have mentioned that this could have been great on a giant screen, and I kind of agree. Actually, it's so gorgeous that this would have been amazing on like a big screen for sure. But oh well. I'm gonna give Luca a 7.5 out of 10. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I also watched a movie that is, well, not out yet, but it was at Tribeca Film Festival called Werewolves Within. I'll have a review up for that too very soon. I can't wait to talk about that. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.